Okay, here we are at the Soho Hotel here in London's West End. It gives me great pleasure to be here with Billy Ocean.
Thank you, Mark.
It's good to see you. And you've got a new album coming out. It's called Here You Are.
Here you are, that's right.
Which not only features all your greatest hits from your long career,
Right.
3 number ones and 30 million hits, but also you recorded a whole disc of sort of a new cover version, songs that have inspired you and meant something to you over the years.
That's right.
So what's the reason behind that?
As you say, songs that inspired me is almost in a way sort of paying homage to some of the great music that done by people that you admire, people that in a way it's really paying respect to all this great music that inspired you. Yeah.
Obviously,
and then there's all these great songs
exactly
around that really and truly, if you were in that frame of mind, I needn't write another song because there's so many good songs around. But business is business. You write, and not just from a business point of view. As an artist, you get inspired to you create songs. You cannot help that. That's something that is like breathing. You have to do it. It's almost like you have to do it.
And were these songs that you loved as a child, or you sort of got into when you was an adult?
No, these are songs from childhood.
Yeah.
Things like Time in the River by Nat King Cole.
Yeah.
That was the first. My father, who was a musician, one day he came home with this old Philips radio, and that was the first song I heard on the radio. And being like, it was great because it was the first international song I'd ever heard as a little boy in Trinidad. In Trinidad, what we heard all the time was like calypso, our own homegrown music. So suddenly I'm hearing a different kind of music, and from then on, hearing all these different sort of music off this little, Philips radio, and being inspired, and then left there when I was 10 years old, came to England and heard more international music, more things that related to the now time of life. The Beatles, the Stones, the Who, the Kinks, you name it. England was a great time for music in that. It still is.
I'll talk about it in a second actually, but one song you've done on there is No Woman No Cry by Bob Marley.
Can't leave that out. Can't leave Bob Marley.
Yeah.
Can't leave Bob Marley out.
Did you ever meet Bob Marley?
No, unfortunately. There are 3 people I'd like to have met, never met. Bob Marley, John Lennon, and Marvin Gaye.
Marvin Gaye, yeah.
Although I did meet Marvin Gaye one time, but I know my spirit said to me, don't leave the man alone, don't trouble him. But I was standing face to face as I was, and that's what, even now I regret, I wish I'd...
Yeah, one time you was too polite. And
exactly.
And let's say on the album cover there's a picture of you as a child. How old are you on that picture?
How old was I? I was about... Oh, you mean the picture? Yeah,
on the album cover.
I was 11 years old, yeah. I was 11 years old. That picture was taken in Valence Road. My father decided one day, right, everybody, let's go take some pictures. And that was one of the pictures that actually I forgot that picture existed until after my mother passed away, and I found it in clearing out, and I kept it, and I never knew I was going to use it, but it really came in handy for this album.
Fantastic. And let's say that picture, you was 11 years old, you come to England when you were 10 from Trinidad. So what impact did that have on you?
Coming from
Trinidad to East London.
My God,
was it a happy time? Was it a challenging time?
What was happy about it was, the happiest thing about it was like meeting up with my parents again. Because I hadn't seen them for about 5 years. Yeah. They left us with, some very lovely, kindly Spanish people. Mrs. Aparicio, family, and they looked after us. And, as a little child, you miss your parents.
Of course.
As much as I love being with the Aparicios, they looked after us really good. But coming to England to meet my parents was like, wow, exciting. One of the other excitement was like traveling in an airplane. Because an airplane was something I looked up in the sky. It's amazing the things that excite you as a child, But then the sort of the disappointment, if there was a disappointment, was like, as a child, there were no trees to climb and fruit trees and things that I'd accustomed to.
Especially East London,
Exactly, just nothing really. But going to school again, that was another strange one for me. Suddenly I'm going to school because I come from a culture where you know, was a black and white situation. The white people stayed by themselves in their own quarters. They came down. They were technical people that, you know, doing technical things in the country like oil, etc., etc. So we never really mixed. But here I am now in England. I'm going to school with all these white kids. Another strange one. A lot of things was like having to get used to, but it was easy in the sense because as a child you tend to adapt more easily, more readily than if you've grown up. When you've grown up, you're set in your own ways, and it's very hard. You can't. Well, they say you can't bend the tree when it's old. You know, so you're set in your ways. So I was very fortunate that I came here as a child. So I'm really and truly, I'm British. Really and truly in my idea.
I'll say it was great. Your friendship met with your parents, and like your father is a musician himself. So music was a big part in the family home.
Always. Music was all I ever wanted, to be honest with you. I wasn't academic. I never really understood why I had to sit in class with some man up front.
When did you first realise you had the voice?
Oh, from ever. I know that sounds really weird, but it's the first thing I recognise about myself. Don't ask me how that came about. Don't ask me. I just used to sing and just like what I heard of myself. I can't explain that really. And then I used to. At one time I was the only boy of a girl choir of 48 girls in Trinidad. I was a little boy. Now why that came about? Because everywhere my sisters go, I have to go. That was part of the law. That's a very Caribbean thing. You're not just your mother bringing you up. The elder sibling you have to pay attention to. The neighbours. You're brought up by everybody. And there's no way that I could have gone home, or we could have gone home, and my sister said, "Mum, we don't know where he is." Oh my God, I'm in trouble. So I used to go with them everywhere, basically. And one of the things that I got involved in was singing with this choir of all these girls. So I was singing ever since. You know, if you are conscious enough and you take notice of life enough, it's that things are almost worked out for you. Things are set. The paths are there. All you have to do is follow with faith. And I've just followed because why? I didn't have a choice. There wasn't anything else that I liked as such. I wasn't very academic, so I know I'd never be a professor. I'd never be an engineer. I would never be, you know, the only thing. I was a very practical person. Something with my hand, but I knew. I enjoyed singing. I enjoyed writing what I would call, there was songs, I don't know what they were, but I was writing words and rhyming and etc., etc. And I just followed that path, and you know, here I am, still on that path. Right?
Good to hear. And as a recording artist, you started off under your real name, Les Charles. And explain to me the first time you heard your voice on the radio. What was that feeling like?
Well, the first time I heard my voice on the radio, I got the sack.
Oh, really?
The first time I heard my voice on the radio, I was so excited that there used to be, I don't know if you might be too young to know this, but there used to be a program on I'm sure it was Radio 1, called Roundtable, and one of the person I remember on it was a DJ, a woman. She was probably one of the first women DJs, Annie Nightingale.
Yep, Annie Nightingale.
Right. There you go. And I was so proud of hearing my record on the radio. It wasn't the best record in the world, far from it. But the fact is, Les Charles has a record on the radio. Now, at that time, I was a tailor. So I got everyone to switch the radio off, not the radio, switch off the machines, and listen to this song, which was not the best.
Of course, that's what you got to do.
You know, but anyway, we all listened and, you know, polite applause and things. But by the next Friday, I was out. I got my match. so that was a benefit of me hearing myself on the radio.
In some ways, he did you a favour. He did you a favour in some ways.
No, oh my God! You know, you hit the right there. They did me a favour because I couldn't. I wanted to leave. I wanted to follow my music, but I couldn't go home and tell my mum I walked out.
Yeah.
Well, it's easier to go home and say I got the sack. So I got the sack, and then I went to Ford's and just, you know, got into bands and sessions and yeah, which sort of led me up to this stage. Yeah.
And eventually, obviously, you adapted the name Billy Ocean, named after the council estate that you lived on, I believe.
No, it's far from it. Everyone said I did live close. I didn't live on that estate.
All right.
I lived in Chicksan House.
Uh-huh.
Ocean Estate was about, I don't know, a few hundred yards from where I lived. But I got that name from, it's a name I travelled with as a little boy.
Ah.
Ocean 11 was the name of the local football team in the village. So when I was looking for a name, which was a sensible thing to do in that time, because what used to happen, the record producers used to have you were like part of a package that they took to the record company, and including they give you a name. But if you ever fell out, that was their name, you can walk away with that name. So I decided, this is when I'm realizing and learning more and more about the business and realizing that this is what I want to do. Started learning to write sounds, etc., etc. So I thought, well, yeah, I've got to have a name. Try and get my own name so that this is something I travel with. And Ocean was something that I had from a little boy in the back of my mind. I don't know why that came along. It's like faith and belief and confidence in what you do. And I found another name to go with it, and Billy Ocean was born.
Fantastic.
And that was it. It's like it's comparative to like writing a song. If it's good, you must know it's good. You don't need anyone to tell you you've got a good song. Whether it's going to be successful or not, that's another story. But not just as a songwriter, as anybody that's creative, if you do something good, and if you don't know you've done something good, then you shouldn't be doing it. Yeah.
Obviously, you had bigger hits like Love Really Hurts, and sort of the 80s. That's when you become a real big household name.
Right. Yeah.
And obviously, Caribbean Queen is
right.
One of your biggest hits.
Worldwide, worldwide, yeah.
And obviously, it's quite well known. There's African Queen, there's European Queen,
right. Marketing idea.
So, whose idea was that for like different territories?
That was I used to be this really good record company, a company called Jive.
Yeah. Clive
Calder, etc., Mutt Lang, and all these different people that knew what they were doing basically, and wrote. Caribbean Queen was initially European Queen.
Oh wow.
And Clive said, listen, Billy, European Queen doesn't sound, it's a nice song, but it's lacking the warmth of, and he said, try Caribbean Queen. Well, Caribbean Queen, it's canned. European Queen, Caribbean Queen, African Queen, it's canned, and I just dropped all these different names in, and they were all successful in their various territory. Which is a great marketing strategy, because had it not changed, I would never.
Because African Queen, I think, was released first in England, and it.
No, I think European Queen was released first. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And no one took any notice, basically, and then we released Caribbean Queen in America, which got to #1, and which sort of followed up with I ended up having 7 top 10s in America, 4 #1s. Very successful people.
And describe the 80s, because it was massive. Records were selling millions. MTV was alive.
That's right.
Was it an excessive time for you?
Was it?
Like, did you live the excess of partying in the 80s?
No, I never really. I wasn't really a victim of that so much. Why wasn't I a victim of that? I mean, I wasn't an angel. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I worked it out that if you're trying to pursue something, you can't be. It's like driving, and you're not. It's like driving with your eyes off the road. You're going to crash, basically. How could you go out partying? Where do you find the time? How can you go out socializing every night, partying? Where do you get the time to write? Where do you get the time to pursue your ambitions? It's either or, basically. And my life is still basically that, really. I just concentrate on what I'm doing. My life is really music. My going out, really and truly, except when I take my wife out, we go on a meal. Going out and eating is my favorite thing. She might go to the theatre, but my kids, thank God I've got grown-up kids, they can take it to the theatre. But going out for me is really when I go out and do shows. Enough already. Go out and shows, traveling, staying in different hotels, and that to me is life. Yeah.
So there was a period where you did get sort of tired of the career. You did take some time out, didn't you?
Yeah, because it was getting pear-shaped around me. There's a lot of success and everything else, but nothing comes by itself.
Mm-hmm.
With the success, there was also negativities around me. So why go through that when I didn't need to? Basically, my kids were growing up. They needed me. I was making a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
I didn't need to. I'm not saying I wasn't a multimillionaire, but there were more important things for me, really, and music meant more to me than hanging in there and suffering. Whereas to me, the best thing to do was to take a back seat, get involved in something that was necessary, where I was needed, my family needed me, and dust myself off and start again. Give me a time to think things over. Do I want to continue to? Because why should you be in a state of something you love, something you enjoy from since you were a child? Why should you let yourself be dictated by negativity?
Yeah.
People around you that can't see your vision, people that can't see what you're trying to get to. Then it's best to pause. And that's what I did, and I think it's the best thing I did.
Right. Because yeah. And you're still touring now. We're touring the UK very soon.
I'm enjoying it more than ever.
Yeah, yeah.
My God, you see my diary, you know where I'm coming from. And I think really on account of having that little time off, it's given me that sort of energy and desire and motivation and everything to be doing what I'm doing. I'm older, I realize that I go out and do it, and it's more than just about a living. I actually, people like myself, we make people happy.
Of course, yeah.
We make people happy. It's as simple as that. So what could be better than that?
Yeah.
I don't think there could be nothing better than that.
I noticed on social media you've been asking your fans for questions to send in. What's the most sort of interesting question a fan has ever asked you?
Most interesting question. One of the most, I can't say question they've asked me. One of the most important thing I've ever been told is that the song "Suddenly" has been played at so many weddings. The song "Caribbean Queen" has given birth to a lot of babies. When the going gets different little catchy titles. I don't know how effective. It might be effective to you, but it is effective to a lot of people out there.
And just before I wind this up, when you're in the back of a taxi and you hear a song like "When the Going Gets Tough" on the radio, what does it mean to you? What goes through your mind when you hear that song?
I get a buzz. I mean, you think, especially like, for example, "Going Gets Tough," you can say, is fairly recent in comparison to "Love Really Hurts Without You." When I hear "Love Really Hurts Without You," I still get a buzz on the radio. I still get a buzz from hearing it on the radio. Because I think that after all these years, it is still turning people on. When I hear things like, when I hear any of my tracks on the radio, I quietly sit down and I still listen to it in a sort of analytic way and think, yeah, that's cool, I quite like that.
Do you ever think, I could have done that a little bit differently? Or
say it again?
Do you ever, whenever you hear your songs, do you ever think, I could have done that a little bit differently? Or do you think, no, that sounds great?
Yes and no. Yes and no, because not differently enough that I would re-record it. Because I think that, it's like a lot of artists going and re-record tracks. I wouldn't do that. The only way you'll get a re-recorded track of Billy Ocean is what's live.
Yeah.
But to go back in and try and regenerate that, I don't think you can never capture that again. And the fans know it as it is. I don't mess with it. I don't mess with my old music.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Billy Ocean, it's been wonderful talking to you. I could sit here and talk to you all day. The album Here You Are is out on 29th of April on Sony Music. And like I say, it's full of songs that inspired you and all your greatest hits as well.
Thank you very much.
Hope to see you on your UK tour soon. Thank you. Thank you. It's been great. Thank you.